Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 3 replays in 3 American premium tanks. And these tanks you can choose to earn through the Brave Op that they're running for the 4th of July. Happy Independence Day to you filthy colonials. And yeah, you can choose one of the 3 tanks to earn alongside the Sherman Grizzly. And what do you have to do for this earn op? Well, for this earn op, all you have to do is deal damage and assist in 1,000 total damage in a battle 150 times, essentially. So play 150 games, get 1,000 damage, and you will earn one of these 3 tanks that you see on your screen. And yeah, it's really easy. And you get a Sherman Grizzly as well. So the choice is between the Freedom Super Pershing, which you're seeing on your screen right now, the Vengeance T25 Pilot, which was recently buffed and is now really, really nice, and the Chrysler K, which is a tank I personally don't like, but it's a decent tank all the same. And yeah, you're going to get the choice to earn some decent tanks. Now, obviously, these tanks have all been up for earn op before. I think we've been able to earn all 3 of them. Chrysler K was before 6.0. The Freedom we've been able to earn as either the Super P or the Freedom before. And the T25 Pilot, I believe we earned at some stage too. Can't quite remember, I just know that they've all been earned at some point. But they're all fairly solid tanks, and you've just got a choice ahead. I'm not going to say which one you should definitely get, because to be perfectly honest, it's down to you and which one you think would fit you, generally. So in terms of the Super P did end up getting a buff. The Super P got an engine power buff from 10 to 11 horsepower per ton, essentially. And did that make a difference? A little bit, but not much. Would I say the Super P's back? It's now the God tier tank it once was? No. I say God tier tank it once was. Is it like it was pre-nerf from all those years ago? No, it's not. It's okay. It's still the tank that basically gets trashed by people who know what they're doing, and people who don't know what they're doing facing you just to have an absolute nightmare while trying to kill you. That's the Super P. That's always been the Super P, and it's that way. It's slow, and it takes a wee while to get up to its top speed. Decent reload, decent pen these days. It's a decent all-rounder in terms of its performance. I say it's just a little bit slow for a medium tank, but you just take it as if it's like more of a brawly heavy tank than anything. So in terms of a crew on the Super Pershing, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Trap Mechanics, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, and Off-Road Driving. Now, I take those perks because I play it more like a heavy tank, so I expect it to run more like a heavy tank. Like I say, the mobility isn't that great on the tank, so I'll run off-road driving to make sure that I can get to my top speed a little bit easier, although you still don't really hit it that much. And then I'll have all the gun perks to help this gun, because this gun isn't the best, generally, for its accuracy. And to go with that, I run Rammer, Vert Stabs, and Optics. Now, because the mobility of the Super P is slow and sluggish, you could run the traction system or the powertrain. I'd probably say powertrain more than traction system, just to give you that oomph in the engine, bit extra. But I don't know what you would drop, and I say that's down to you, right? Because you could drop Vert Stabs if you feel like the gun's okay, but the gun for me has always been derpy, and it gets really annoying when it misses shots constantly. So Vert Stabs are a must. Optics you want because you don't really want to get out-spotted. You want to be able to spot for yourself. And Rammer, well, your reload is okay. Well, your reload's pretty solid with a Rammer, but without it, you're going to start not having a solid reload. I mean, 5.5 seconds is really nice. And the Super P, it's one of those things. This is going to always have a place in my heart, because this was the first tank that I sat down and went, yeah, you know what, I'm going to buy this in terms of a tier 8 premium anyway. I think they had it on discount around 4th of July, typically. What, 2016? Something like that. And it was like 4,500 gold, and I was like, yep, go on, sign me up. I'll take that. Tier 8 preferential premium. Because that's the other thing this tank has. That's preferential matchmaking, which is always a great thing to have. If you feel like you're getting slapped about by the matchmaking, just take out a pref matchmaking tank, and the worst you'll see is tier 9, which is always great. And yeah, the Super P will always have a place in my heart for that. But like I say, it's just a bit slow. It's sluggish. The gun handling at times is trash. I have no idea where that shell just went that you've just seen on your screen. And it's one of those tanks that basically you play against people who haven't got a clue what to do against you. You're just going to absolutely wreck them. You play against people that know what to do against you. You have absolutely no hope because they will just trash you. They will shoot the little cheeks underneath the spaced armor on the turret. They'll shoot the cupolas. They'll shoot the gun port through the spaced armor. You know, and it won't be a pretty time. So it's like this Oho is trying to feather out my cupola, and he can't quite do it. The other thing with the tank, I mean, you have 192 standard AP round, which is a lot better than it used to be. And that can be a lot better nowadays, especially for a preferential medium tank. But you do also have like 250 odd premium pen on your APCR. And that's more than you'll need for anything you're going to face as a preferential matchmaking tank. But the thing is, most of the time, you're probably going to be firing a lot of premium rounds, as you've seen in this game. Because like this Oho, we have no hope of penning. And there is a lot of tanks that the 192 pen at tier 8 is going to struggle a hell of a lot to be able to go through. So you just, if you get this tank, just, you know, expect to be having to dab the A button or whatever your change ammo reload button is to be able to change to premium ammo, because you're going to need it. So this game on Arctic region, we've managed to get 4k damage so far. We're hopefully going to finish off this Oho. And yep, we managed to finish him off. 4k damage, 3.1k blocks, because most of the people so far that we've faced haven't really understood how to face us. We had the AG-88 earlier on that fired a couple of standard rounds at us and then failed to pen us, so switched to premium and he penned us like once. And sadly for that tank, we can't really pen it with AP, even in the lower plate, because it's like 200 effective. But if we switch to APCR, we could just go straight through his upper plate, and that's what we did to him. And then we've just trundled along. Really, this was the perfect scenario for the Freedom, because everything sort of sat in front of us and let us brawl. And we didn't have to drive anywhere significantly quickly, essentially. We didn't have to get anywhere rapidly to try and get damage. We could just trundle along and do damage. Like I say, it's a slow medium tank that plays more like a heavy tank with armor that is decent, more troll than anything. But if people know exactly where to hit you, it's not going to be a good time. My advice is basically just keep wiggling. Always wiggle, 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 wiggle. Because if you're going towards people and you just drive in a straight line and stuff like that, you're going to make it easier for them to just shoot your weak spots. If you wiggle, 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 you're going to make it harder for them. And therefore you can just accentuate the armor and make it just that little bit better. So we've managed to get here to get to the 244. We get a nice shot into him on the side, try and ram him. I was hoping to do a little bit more ramming damage there, but we didn't quite get it. And hopefully we're going to be able to finish this guy off. We can just get past the ISM, and we do manage to finish off the object 244. And we finished that game with 4.7k damage, the victory, 4 kills, 3.2k blocked, which is great. Ace Tanker, the high caliber, the steel wall, 1919 base XP. Like I say, this tank is solid for facing people that have no idea what to do against you, but pretty poor against people that know all about your weaknesses. It's an alright tank, the Freedom. Like I say, it's always got a place in my heart. And we're on to the next replay. In the next replay, you've seen the T25 Pilot, but it is the Vengeance you're going to be earning. I just played the T25 Pilot because I've already 3-marked the Vengeance, and I was like, let's play the T25 Pilot. It's exactly the same in every way, except for the Vengeance actually has a pretty solid crew training bonus. It's like 30%, something like that. It's really, really good crew trainer, and that's a nice feature to have. It's also a solid tank after it got buffed. Well, the buffs that the Vengeance received was quite significant. It got better accuracy from 0.36 to 0.34, penetration from 192 to 221 with 268 premium pen, velocity on the shells went from 853 to 975, horsepower went from 14.2 to 18.75, And the dispersion during movement and on rotation went from 0.13 to 0.1, which just means that the gun in general got so much better for this tank, because you're not going to struggle to pen anything like you used to. The shell velocity is a lot nicer on it. The penetration, like I say, is great. The on the move and turning the turret dispersion, well, the accuracy generally is now really good. And the buffs to this tank just made it really solid. And as well as that, it used to be really sluggish with its engine power. It's now really fairly quick. It breathed a whole new lease of life into the Vengeance, into the T25 Pilot. And it's made this tank really solid. For me personally, if I hadn't owned any of these three tanks, this is the one I probably would have picked. Because of those reasons. And the fact that you now don't struggle with much, and you're quick. You've got pretty solid camo. You've got good shells. It's a good all-round medium tank now. It's got troll turret armor, which means you're not guaranteed to bounce things, but you can. And yeah, it's decent DPM and, like I say, solid gun. In terms of a crew, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Run and Gun, Steady Aim, Trap Mechanic, Camouflage Expertise, and Muffled Shot. Now I run the camo perks so that, you know, this tank can be a little bit more stealthy if I need to be, and stay on spotter for a little bit longer so I can keep working people over with the gun. But also steady aim and run and gun so that, you know, we can just make that gun that little bit better. In terms of equipment, I run rammer, vents, and optics. I used to run vert stabs and optics, but the buff to the gun means that you just don't need vert stabs anymore, because it's really accurate when you use the gun skills. I mean, you're seeing here with the T25 Pilot, we're having no issues at all. When we were moving to this position in K0, which is a really strong position from our spawn, as you're seeing with the spotting, we were hitting people on the move, no problem. And we were just running rammer, vents, and optics, because vents buffs the gun up as well as giving you better DPM, and then, you know, you, like I say, running optics to boost your range and the rammer to make the DPM better. And yeah, with the buffs that the gun got, especially with the dispersions on the move and turning the turret, just making it more accurate like that, it doesn't bloom as much. The need for vert stabs isn't that great for this tank anymore. So in this replay, we are on Westfield, and we've managed to get to K0. We've lost a lot of our hit points so far. We're pretty much a one-shot for a fair few tanks that are down there. We're up to 3.3k damage and 3.3k assistance. K0 is such a powerful position if you can reach it. Like, their spawn gets the G7 area where they can go to the bushes and spot you crossing. This position, if you're quick enough to get to K0, you can spot all of their guys that are camping and all their guys that would be farming your guys climbing the K line. If you're in a quick tank, it's a good suggestion to go there. If you're in something that does less than 40 kilometers an hour, don't even bother, because you will just get farmed to high heaven and you will die. And as you see, we managed to work that position well. We kept poking up, kept spotting, kept doing damage, and the T25 Pilot did most of the work. And we finished with the epic victory, 3 kills, 3.3k damage, 3.7k assistance, the ace tanker, the sniper medal, 2k base XP. Really nice game for the T25 Pilot, which, like I say, is an absolutely solid tank after the buffs. The buffs have made it great, and it's the buffs have breathed a new, fresh lease of life into the tank. It's made it just completely relevant now, which is great. And you don't have to worry about penetration. You can get up to your top speed, and the gun handling is now actually pretty good. And we're on to the third and final replay, and this one is the Chrysler K, which is another one, which is the last of the 3 tanks that you can actually pick in the Brave Ernop. Like I say, you can only pick one, and this tank actually received the buff in the Blitzkrieg Reforge, which gave it a slightly better turret rotation from 24 to 26, and the reload time from 10.1 to 9.6. Now, this tank is pretty decent. Would I say it's the rip-roaring heavy tank? Not really. The gun handling is sort of okay-ish. The DPM's alright. The armor's okay as long as people don't press A. It's a side-scraping god, which is one thing that it has got in its locker. If you decide to go side-scraping with this tank, you can have a great time. You can block a lot of damage. The penetration on the gun, though, isn't the best. It's only 198 on the standard AP rounds. And on the premium rounds, it is 260, which is ridiculously high for a heavy tank at tier 8, which is great, because that means that you can pen everything you're going to face. But the problem is, with such low standard penetration at 218, whereas a lot of the tanks now are pushing 220 at tier 8, it just means you do have to press A again a lot of the time to be able to pen what you want to pen. essentially, especially with the amount of times you get bottom tier at tier 8, right? And that's just really annoying. It was really annoying for me playing this. Like I say, personally, I'm not a fan of the tank because it's only got like the 5 degrees gun depression. It's only got the back-mounted turret. It's a tank that relies a lot on its armor, but its armor can be frustrating. By the way, goodbye artillery. That was a weird shot on that artillery. I could not, for the life of me, feather a shot at that guy with the sniper view. But I could see him in free aim, and I managed to hit him in free aim. Well, weird. But yeah, so the Chrysler generally is one of those tanks. I'm not the biggest fan of tanks that just throw everything away, well, most things away so that they can have godly armor. And the Chrysler is one of those where you give up like the DPM, the penetration, and the gun handling to be able to have great armor. Because it is a top tier stomper. If you're facing tier 6s and tier 7s, they're going to struggle to pen you frontally. But as soon as you go against tanks that have 220, 230 pen, they're going to butter your lower plate all the time, every time. And that's really frustrating. But like I say, because your lower plate is 220 effective roundabouts. So any tank that has higher than that, they're going to destroy you lower plate. But if you keep it covered, it's great. And like I say, it is great at side scraping as long as you don't over angle like that. My advice is just get to a corner, get to a choke point, side scrape, side scrape, side scrape, and just try and work people over with this gun. Now, one thing I have experienced with it is that the cupola seems to keep getting penned by people non-stop. I thought it was stronger than it is, but it's only like 230 effective. It's really annoying, so just beware of that, especially when you are side scraping. Don't just sit there thinking you're impenetrable. Keep yourself moving and you'll be alright. So in this game on whatever this is called, Cliff, there you go, got the map in there. We went to the position in the middle and then side scraped off the rock, because I knew if I got to that position, I could side scrape, use the great side armor and, you know, the back mounted turret to be able to spot them down this JK line, get some assistance, but then also work them over, because I knew that obviously they were going to struggle to pen me, and I could just keep bouncing them while, you know, shooting them over and over again. And it's worked for us in this game, which is quite nice. We managed to get rid of the artillery, which helps our team a lot. We managed to spot a lot of their tanks that were camping on the JK line, because, you know, people tend to do that on Cliff. And we've ended up with 3.2k well, 3.3k damage and 2.2k assistance. And it's worked. Unfortunately enough for us, we were facing a lot of tanks that we weren't going to struggle too much with, which is great. And we've had a pretty solid game for the Chrysler K. For me personally, I'm not going to tell you which one to pick, because it's all down to what you think of the tanks yourselves and what sort of playstyle you're happier with, whether you want the preferential matchmaking, whether you want sort of a solid all-round medium tank, whether you want a solid armoured heavy tank. It's down to you. Me personally, for my personal playstyle, I would have picked the T25 Pilot if I hadn't got any of them. But the Freedom's a nice one for the preferential matchmaking, like I say, and this tank is a solid heavy tank for tier 8, where if you're top tier, you're going to do well, and if you're bottom tier, maybe not so well. And we finished with the victory, 4 kills, 3.3k damage, 2.2k assistance, a good amount of blocks, the ace tanker, and 1815 base XP. A really nice game for the Chrysler K. Let's say solid heavy tank. They're all solid choices to pick. It's down to your personal preference, and yeah, you just do that through the missions tab in the season pass bit. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!